speak first of technology and disruption, and then business, and last maybe come to politics when I get time. Now, the 20th century, second half, and this century seen major disruptors. And one of the biggest disruptors, of course, is technology, which Sid and all will talk about much more than I would, compared to any other time in the history of civilization. And of course, there's a very famous economist who used to be in Harvard, Joseph Schumpeter, who wrote about this and said there is the dynamic movement of an economy based on what he called creative destruction. And the last part, which is the politics, is how do I handle creative destruction in a political democracy? And that's really the most difficult part. Now, technology has two features. It has very high obsolescence. You know, the time for which technology lasts is getting shorter and shorter. And the other thing is that it's working towards convergence. I'm going to spend a few minutes on this issue because I've been working with a colleague of mine in Columbia University for many years on the analytical framework, which is difficult to do. The problem with convergence is, not the problem, but what convergence does is, it saves on, it is necessary because you need to save on time. Let me spend 2 minutes on that. See, technology creates products. And for those who are economists, there are two sides to anything. There is the production side and there is the demand side, right? So technology works on the production side. And automation, robotics and all are making things much more easier to do without human beings on the production side. But what about the consumption side? You still need people to consume, right? So one of the problems technology has is, and take the USA, which is the technological leader in the world, all the innovations in the 80s dealt with the kitchen. Why? Because one thing you've got to do is you've got to eat to stay alive, unfortunately, still. And what do? Because you have to spend a certain time. So most of the technology which came in the US in the 1890s was how do I save my time in the kitchen? You know, refrigerators will tell you what is left in the fridge, and foods which can be, all these fast food and so on. But that's the problem. There's only so much income that you can create, but you cannot create time. And that's where the demographic transitions in countries is causing a problem. Because older people don't consume all that much, but they still do consume. And you have to have people to consume, to take there's only so many, what do you call them here? I don't know, we call them momos in India. I guess dim sum, there are only so many you can eat, right? You can't have 100. So there's a limit to consumption. Then what happens if technology creates products? Because every product consumption takes time. We all know what the production side, what about the time. That, I think, is the reason why we are stuck today, why from 2008 we have still not got out of this whole recession, because we've created through technology more and more innovative products, larger set of products. Technology allows you to have more than you had earlier at the same price. That's really what technology does. It doesn't really drive down prices. But it doesn't create time. And that's what John Maynard Keynes, who had a solution to the 1930s recession, very effective solution, that's something we haven't found today. Who's going to solve this problem of time? And I think that's where, to me, not because I come from India, that's where the emerging countries are going to be very important in the next 20, 30 years, because they still have people, they have time. They are not running out of people. So, where many years ago people used to think from Malthus's days that people are a problem, there's so many, and that's why we have the natural deaths which control population. Today we are trying to save on that. Because now suddenly you think of people from the consumption side. Because one thing so far we haven't done is created technology and robots which also create consumption. So I think that's where the emerging markets role becomes more and more. And I always tell people in India, look, as long as there are enough people, don't worry, just sit back, they'll come here. Because where else will you go? That's where the people are. Either you get the people there, but they'll disrupt your economy, so why don't you take the income there? Okay, the other thing which I want to just quickly mention here, which I think are very important part of trade, is the link between trade and technology. And I say this the following way. It's always, trade is something you learn in the economic school, right? Trade theories, those who are economists learn about trade theories. And business is something that the companies do. the multinational companies. So international business, you learn the business schools, and economics, you learn trade theory. But today's world, where about 67% of world production is in companies, and trade is intra-firm trade, and that's why countries are worried about transfer pricing. What do? Because the traditional trade theories don't live the truth. They are doing it now, by the way. One thing about us economists, you find something which is important enough, we'll get into it. If environment is economic is important, economists are there. If economy is important, can't keep us out. We and lawyers, two very dangerous ways. Anyway, so the question is that technology has fragmented production to such an extent. There is no product made in a country. Name me a product which is made only in one country, none. The last experiment I know was Malaysia, which tried to create a car. Didn't work out too well. Now they're collaborating with Volkswagen, and there's one experiment in India which I will not report over here. So the question is, trade and companies and trade and foreign investment are inseparable. And that's what I always argue with the policymakers of India. You can't have two separate wings. One will deal with trade and one will deal with foreign investment. They're the same thing. Foreign investment is just one more way of doing trade, within combining the aspects of commodity, services, and technology. That's all in one. So how do you do that? How do you separate? All countries treat these separately. And you can see that is why agreements like TRIPS came on to the WTO forum, because they said, look, we guys are the ones who do the trade. Actually, most trade today is intra-firm trade. So they said, look, we also need to stand up and be counted. So we need something, and that's why TRIPS came into being. So that's the other thing. How do I link trade and FDI when technology is fragmenting production to such an extent? It's very difficult to distinguish trade from intra-firm operations. The last, I'll quickly take 2 more minutes to end, is the issue of politics. Now, politics you cannot avoid. We become very mathematical. I'm one too. We do a lot of mathematics. But the original study of economics was political economy. Way back in the 19th century and all from the 21st century. People like Ricardo, people like Malthus making a political point. And they were trying to shake up the political leaders. And that continues today. However, the difference is that after the end of the Cold War, some of this international trade-off between economics and politics is dying out. It showed up in the WTO for a while at the Doha round, because you had 9/11 and the Americans were too busy, said that right now winning friends is more important than trade. Now they've got the friends and we are back to trade. So what do you do in a world where international politics is getting less and less important and no person is emerging as, there are no two counter forces emerging? You don't know. I mean, a bipolar world, a multipolar world, a unipolar, you don't know. Polarity is not emerging yet, and that's where the RTAs are flourishing too, because everyone's sort of getting into some camp or the other, because so many things are happening. But the difference is, I think, that business is now moving faster than politics. And whichever kind of political system you operate in, you will find that business somehow finds a way. And I do believe that politics isn't as important internationally, talking about trade today, as it was, let's say, 100 years back. But international politics is undergone a sea change. So, well, that's all I want to say in this short address. And thank you once again for coming. And please remember, IIFT is not only a management institute, it's a university, it's also a major think tank for the government of India. And we hope you'll see more and more of our students. I couldn't believe when I was told there are over 150 only in a small place like Singapore. And one thing I did say to Venkat and the others is, let's create an alumni page. You don't know who's there. The one thing about the net is joins everyone. Everyone knows who's where. I'm still working on a web page where I suddenly found from friends from 1966 when I was in class 5 or 6 or something. There's a 66 page someone started. And I said, wait, let me see how many of them are still alive, and most of them are still alive and kicking. It was good news. But as I said, so let's start a page, but you guys take the initiative, we'll certainly follow up. Let's see. Thank you very much.